Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rachel Klein and I will be your presenter here for the next 20 minutes. Today we are going to be talking about handling duplicates. So if you're familiar with working in the church Windows program, specifically membership and donations, you're going to see that over time there's going to be an occurrence, or there could be an occurrence, where you get the same person entered in more than once. Sometimes they get entered in several times. I've seen cleanups where the same person's in there 4, 5, 6 times. So it does happen, and I want to also show you tips to avoid that. I'll do that towards the end of the webinar, but today what we're going to do is we're really going to look at how to go in and find the duplicates, how to figure out which is the good one, the one that you want to keep, and then how to clean out and get rid of those old ones. So there's a couple steps to cleaning up those duplicates, and all of those steps are written down and organized for you in a document. That document is called Handling Duplicate Givers. That document's going to be linked on your GoToWebinar toolbar. If you expand the handout section, you'll be able to see it there. But I do also want to go out to the website, and I want to show you where you can find this document that I'm going to be following with today. So if you're on churchwindows.com, you can go to this little magnifying glass, and you can just type in duplicate. We'll hit enter, and it's going to do a search in our support center, and it's going to pull up that document. So right up here at the top, we can click on that duplicates giver. There's a previous video that's from a couple years ago. I'm going to update this one with the one I'm doing now, but the document's right here. So feel free to download that and put it away if you need it. Also, it's just me today. There aren't too terribly many people registered. I think we had about 50. So it's just me. If you do have a question, feel free to expand the questions section on your GoToWebinar toolbar, and I will get you an answer. I'm not going to answer them till the end of the webinar, because if I'm trying to present and read the questions, I get myself all mixed up. So I'm actually not even going to be looking at that while I'm presenting. But if you do have a question that comes up, feel free to type it in, and I will get to it towards the end of the webinar. All right, so today's webinar, we're going to be working in version 21.18.4. This is our most current version of Church Windows. If you're seeing something different than that, feel free to head out to our website, again, at churchwindows.com, and you can see what the most current update is and how to download it. Or if you need help, you can always call our support line or give us an email to support@churchwindows.com, and we can help you that way. All right, handling duplicates. I'm going to open up donations here, and I want to show you the best screen to get started with when you're trying to do some cleanup. Manage Givers right here in the middle is going to show you everyone that you have in the database. So it's going to show you people who have been entered just into the donations module, and it's also going to show you everyone that's been put in over from membership. So this is a really good screen that organizes all of your givers together, allowing you to see everybody at a quick glance. So whether you have a specific person that you know is in here multiple times, or whether you just want to scroll through the list to see if you can find those duplicates, this is a great place to do so. In the document that I'm following, we have an example. James Kildare, he is going to be the individual that we're going to be working with today to clean up. So I'm going to go ahead and just type in his name, and as you can see, we have 3 of them. Okay, so the biggest thing is finding how many times James is in here. So I have 1, 2, and 3 versions of James, and each one is different, okay? The program doesn't know that this is the same person. So as you can see here, our first version of James, he has a V after his last name. That tells us this version of him is being pulled from membership visitors. Okay, so he is a visitor. The second one, James Kildare, has nothing after, no V, no other letter. That tells us that it's a member over in the membership side. Then below that we have a James Kildare. This one has a D and also has the donations giver box checked. That tells us this version of James was entered directly into the donations module as a donations giver. Okay, so there's 3 different types that we have going on here. Now keep in mind, with our newer version of membership, you have the option to create many categories. So you might see letters other than V or D. That just pertains to the category they've been given over in the membership module. Now let's look over here too. This version of James, the donations giver version, also has a giver number. It's a giver number of 261. So we need to decide, should James have a giver number? If so, what does it need to be? Should it really be 261, or is there another number he needs to have? And then we also need to decide, of these 3 versions of James, which is a good one? Which is the record that we want to keep so we can remove and clear out the others? Okay, so this is your first step, figuring out how many there are and leading us to decide which is the good one we're going to keep. So to do some more research for that, we're going to bounce over here to membership. And we're actually going to do a search because I want to find those 2 versions of James that I have. Like I said, we had a member and we had a visitor. So I'm going to open up the people database. And I'm going to do a search. Now in the new version of Church Windows, this new membership, we do have a person lookup, which is a really great feature for looking for duplicates as well. I'm going to go ahead and type in Kildare. You see we have a visitor, and you can see that we have a member. So let's go look at the visitor record first. So as James's record pops up on the left, we see it's pretty basic. There's not a lot of good information here. No address, no phone. His primary directory report order field is filled out, but everything else is pretty blank, okay? Now let's come back up here and let's go look at the other version. Let's hope the other version of James has some better information on it. So again, I'm looking for James Kildare in my person lookup, and since I already viewed the visitor, I'm going to go to the member. That's the one without the V, and here he pops up. Looks like there's a lot more information on this one. He has an address. There's no phone number, but he does have a cell phone we can see over here. We have birth date, his status, lots of good stuff here. So my decision is I want to keep this version of James Kildare. Okay, so this is going to be the good one. We're going to remove the other 2. Now with that being said, I want to make sure all of the giving, if I have pledging, I want to make sure all of my pledging, and I want to make sure my giver number is on this version of James that I'm going to keep. Okay, so I'm going to go back up here to my person lookup because I've made my decision, and I'm going to look for the other James that is a visitor. I need to clean him out, okay? While I'm in here, I'm going to mark him inactive. That's going to hide him and stop him from showing up over in the donations module for the future, for entering giving and so forth. But by making him inactive, I can still go in and look at any giving and move it if I need to. I'm just going to do this at this point because I'm already over here in the membership module. So to hide James, to stop him from appearing in the future, I'm going to have to assign him as inactive, okay? If James has any giving history at all, he cannot be deleted. So if I were to go up here and hit delete individual, the program's going to tell me he has giving or pledging. You cannot remove him, okay? If he didn't have giving and pledging, go ahead, delete him, get him out of there. But for this case, I can't, okay? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to mark him inactive. And then I need to give him a reason. This is his inactive reason. Why am I removing this record? That's where I come down here and I choose duplicate. And then the date is always going to default to today. You can go back and change that if you wish, but for this, I'm not too worried about it. So now that he's marked inactive and he has a date and a reason, I'm going to hit save. And as you can see, now he shows up in red. The information is still here, the history is still here if you need it, but he is marked red, okay? So let's jump back over into the donations module, and we are going to pick up, if you're following along, on page 3 in the document. So now I need to get my giving moved. I really need to go in and make sure I have all my giving on my right individual, my correct or my good record that I'm keeping. Best place to check for giving and even move giving up here at the top is under transfer donations. It's under givers. I'm going to go ahead and hit transfer donations, and you can adjust the date range to whatever you want. For today's example, I'm just going to keep it current, but you could go back multiple years if you needed to while doing cleanup. Your from giver, this is who you're taking the giving off of. So this is going to be the duplicate, the one we're removing. So I'm going to go ahead and look for Kildare. And as you can see, I have giving on 3 James Kildare records. This is the one that I just removed, so I'm going to select that one. We have 1 gift, and I'm going to move it to my James that is a member. That is this one with no letter. And as you can see, there's 1 gift on the member or the good version of James that we're keeping. To remove this gift and transfer it over to the right, all I'm going to do is hit transfer selected. It's going to say this will reverse 1 donation, repost them to James Kildare. Are you sure? Yes, I am. Here's my new transaction numbers, and now I have my giving on the right person on the right side here. Okay, now let's go back into Manage Givers. We need to talk about that donations giver that's in here. And here's James Kildare, donation individual. As you can see, our member one is gone because, or our visitor one is gone because we marked him inactive. And now we have this version of James Kildare that is a donations giver. That means it was entered only into donations. To remove this record, you have to come over here and hit the inactive box here. Okay, so this record does not exist over in membership. It's a donations giver. And to remove it or make changes, you have to do that all in donations. So I'm going to go ahead and mark inactive because I want to get James Kildare out of here. His inactive box is checked. Okay, now let's go see that giving. We need to move the giving off of this version of James and put it on the good member version. So I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go back up to transfer donations. I'm going to leave my date range as is, but I'm going to look for here now in red because I marked him inactive is James with number 261. We're going to talk about the number next, but I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Looks like there's 2 gifts here that need moved. So I'm going to come over to the right. I'm looking for my James, that's the member. Selecting that one, there's the gift I just moved, and now I'm going to hit transfer selected. It's going to reverse them off of the incorrect version of James and create new transactions on my correct version or my good version of James. Okay, so now all of the giving is in the right place and the 2 duplicates have been marked inactive. Next thing we're going to talk about is the giver number. We have to get the giver number on the right person. The best screen to work with giver numbers is up here at the top. It's called Manage Numbers. I'll go ahead and click on that, and it's going to open up my Manage Numbers screen. Okay, so any changes or history of numbers or assigning new numbers, this is going to be one of the best windows to do that. So what we need to do is first we need to decide, do we want to keep 261? Should James really have giver number 261? And in this instance, he does. We want to get it on the correct version. So I'm going to go ahead and look for the current version of James who has number 261 just by typing in that number. And in the lower half of the screen, it's going to find him. It's going to list his number and a start date and an end date if he had one. For this example, there's no end date, so that means his number is going to continuously be 261. But I don't want this number on this version. I need this number on my member version of James. So we could put in an end date. That is an option, but because it's a duplicate, I really just want to get this number off of donations giver James so I can get it onto member James for the same time frame. So I'm actually going to just delete this number completely off of James, the donations giver, allowing me to assign it to James, the one that it should be on. Okay, so to delete the giver number, I'm going to go over to the right, and I'm just going to hit this little minus sign here. It's going to come up with some options, but I really just want to get it off of him so I can get it on the right one. I'm going to leave giver number, delete giver number 261. I'm going to leave this option checked, and then I'm going to come down here to the right, and I'm going to say OK. And now that number is gone. Okay, as you can see, he's been removed from the list. Next, I need to come up here to the top and I need to choose the correct version of James. I'm going to choose individual because he gives by himself. He is a family of 1. I'm going to choose individual. add new number. The number I want them to have is 261, and I'm going to take my start date back to that original start date that was on the duplicate, 1/1/2018. I'm going to go ahead and say OK to that. And now you can see James Kildare, 261, start date of 1/1/2018, and with the his correct address is now showing. So that is how you get the number off of the wrong person and get it back onto the right one. Okay, so let's check one more time our Manage Giver screen, and let's make sure James is showing like he should. There's only one James now when I type in his name, and it is the correct version. It's the membership version, and it also has giver number 261, which is what we want. Now let's close out of here, and I want to go into Browse, and we're going to do a search for James here as well. Oops. Here he is. I fat fingered that number, sorry about that. So now here's James, 261, and here's all his 4 gifts that we combined together as well. All right, so that concludes everything I wanted to show you in the Handling Duplicate Givers document. So cleaning up those duplicates, it is pretty straightforward. It's just there's going to be a couple steps. First step is going to be, using that Manage Giver screen to figure out how many you have, how many duplicates you have. And then with that, looking at membership to really figure out which is the one you want to keep, which one has the best information on it. And then your next step is going to be combining the giving and pledging. If you are a pledging church, getting that all put on the proper person. And then the last step is going to be getting rid of them by using the inactive feature if there's giving, or deleting if there's no giving history. So overall, there's about 4 steps. The order that you choose to do those in is really up to you. If you'd rather go in and mark everybody inactive at once and then go move the giving at once, that's fine. As long as you follow the 4 steps, though, you're going to be able to clean those people up. Okay, so that is going to cover what is in the document. Now I want to point out some things to help you with avoiding duplicates. This is not from the document. This is some separate information. On the Enter Donation screen, if you are entering in a batch and you find that you are typing someone's name in and they aren't coming up as a result, okay, you aren't able to see them, your first instinct would be to come over here, hit Add Giver to put them back in. Don't do that quite yet. What I'd recommend is coming in here and checking this inactive box and then typing in their name again, because anyone who's been marked inactive in the past is going to show up in red. So this is going to allow you to really search through and see if those past people, or if those people you're looking for are actually past people that have been here before or given to your church before. Okay, so that's a really handy tool to help you kind of double check yourself before you go in and add someone else. Now, with that being said, we also have a feature now in our newer version that will actually alert you if you're entering a person who's already in there. So this is another little safeguard. So let's say I go to enter James again, and we'll say he's a visitor, and I put in James Kildare, and I hit Add Individual, and I type in James again, and I have to give him a directory report order, and as soon as I click, it's going to tell me these people already exist. So it's actually going to tell you you have a donations individual and you have 2 families in membership that already have this exact same name. So the program is going to double check you a little bit. Now you can still always hit yes and do it anyways, but if you're seeing something like this, you really should go look at these other records, and you can search them by their family number if that's helpful, and pull them up to see if it's a record you can just reactivate. Okay, so there's a little safeguard there. But like I said, duplicates, they happen. It's okay. No database is going to be perfect and crystal clear of anything like that, but if they come along, follow the document. You can always head back out to our website and rewatch this video if you want to, or again, call us on our 1-800 number, shoot us an email to support@churchwindows.com, and we will do our best to help you get those cleaned up.